Okay, hello everybody and welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all Illinois students, sponsored by the Illinois Association for College Admission Counseling and StriveScan. Thank you for joining us this evening. Just a few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type any questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off. We are in webinar mode, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. And this is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at IACAC.org. We have sessions going for the next, I think, about 6 weeks. And then lastly, this presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week or so on that same website, again, IACAC.org, so that you can access it again or share with any friends or family. I'd now like to turn it over to our presenters. Have a great time.
Good evening. Thank you for that introduction. Let me get my screen share here real quick. So welcome. Thank you for joining us today for this session titled Multicultural Guide to a Successful College Career. My name is Dulce Maldonado Munoz. I'm a multicultural recruitment counselor here for the university. And within that, here at Southeast Missouri State University, I'm going to let my colleagues from Maryville and Monmouth College joining me today do a quick introduction, and then we'll get started with our presentation.
My name is Antonio Quiles. I'm an assistant director of admissions at Maryville University, and we'll be going over programming throughout my presentation. And I'll let Julio talk a little bit about him and what he's going to be talking about.
It happens. I forgot to unmute myself. Good evening and buenas tardes. My name is Julio Trujillo. I am the Associate Regional Director for Monmouth College, and I'll be talking about some of the barriers to success that some of us as multicultural students may encounter and how to overcome them. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Like I said, we don't have a quick checklist to check off for a overall successful college career, but we believe one of the main things that you're looking at to be successful in college falls in the involvement side. So the main thing is that you want to make your college experience meaningful, and for us that really begins with involvement. So here in the next couple of slides, I'll touch a little bit of the benefits of why you should consider the payoff of being involved. But of course, as anything in any college or campus you're thinking about, once you set foot on that campus, you really want to ask around to see what your interests are to be found there. You want to find a place that you find that sense of belonging that ties you into that community. So of course, ask and then join. And then by joining, you can become involved. And I will say here at Southeast Missouri State University, we have over 200 clubs and organizations. And really, they run the gamut of things of what you can be involved in. If you were a nerd like I was, we have like a Harry Potter club, a Glee club, an anime club, you name it. There's a lot of things that you can be involved. So like I said, just start out with asking. But I have for the next slides 5 benefits of why you should consider to be involved in campus. And the first one here I have here is that with anything, being involved pays off in building your new networking community. So you're making that transition from high school to college the next year. And so that might be a little bit unfamiliar on territory for you in that you're living behind family, friends. So you're looking to make connections on campus. So with that, being involved in an organization or club is the easiest way of meeting people that have similar interests as you. And so that really could help you pick your new interests, values, or goals that you might share with them. And really, it just helps you make those connections that will lead into lifelong friendships. And so that can help you expand your social circle that you might not have been familiar with in high school, and overall helping you make that transition easier for you. The second benefit I had is, of course, the potential of scholarships. Who doesn't like more extra money while being in college, right? You want that extra pocket change in your pocket within that. So a lot of the clubs and organizations, depending on the type of organization they are, they might incentivize membership, meaning that they may award a benefit to that. And a lot of them may have scholarships tied to that. So definitely ask around your campus community of what clubs and organizations have some type of involvement award, and take advantage of that. Of course, within a university or campus, you may find that they might have their own set of private scholarships set aside based on involvement. I know here at Southeast, we have over 2,000 private endowment scholarships that are not only awarded based on area alone, but they also really focus on that extracurricular aspect. So definitely being involved has the potential for you to earn those scholarships while in college. So definitely take advantage of that. A third benefit of why you should consider being involved is, of course, it's a place for you to discover new strengths, talents, and passions. You never know what might pique your interest in college. And like I mentioned, they run the gamut of things of why you can be involved in on campus. I can personally say as a freshman during my undergraduate years, I had a Chinese roommate within that. And so I really got to explore her side of the culture from Asia. And that interest led me to signing up for like a Chinese class and eventually becoming an international student ambassador. So you never know where those interests might lead you and the connections that you may make. And so definitely helps you build on that and grow as an individual. And going off of this benefit, this really kind of ties into that, in that you'll be in class getting a lot of knowledge, a lot of factoids, a lot of knowledge that you have. And so you really want to apply that knowledge in a real life scenario. And I will say that involvement on an organization or club really is like the test run of your career post-graduation of college. And so really you get to apply in practice that knowledge you gain, and it helps you expand skills that you will need post-graduation. I know a lot of employers like to throw around the word soft skills. Those are a real thing. You can really gain a lot of those skills through that involvement that you have, especially when it comes to leadership. Taking that role of becoming an executive board of that club organization can really enhance your growth and your skills in those areas. And of course, that ties in within my last benefit of building yourself as a person and growing those skills, is that it helps you build and enhance your resume. It's never too early to start building that resume, and involvement plays a huge part of that. I can also say that employers really look at that those extracurriculars. They really want to see how meaningful you made your college experience, and a lot of that goes back to that involvement. So it's never too early to start building that resume, and if you're not sure where to start off or why you want to become involved, if you really know what career path you're going to take of degree focus, then take advantage of career services offices. They are kind of like the first step in finding connections within the campus community, but beyond that, and potentially connecting you with alumni in areas of interest that you're already interested in helping you find those internships and potentially employment. And so that was my quick rundown of 5 benefits of why you should be involved that really kind of enhance of why that can make your college experience all that meaningful. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julio, and he's going to touch more on that self-advocacy and the resources you can find on campus departments.
I did it again. Thank you, Lindsay. One of the things that I wanted to make sure that we touched upon as we go over some of the barriers to success. And if we can actually go to the next slide, Lindsay. Sometimes, and this happened to myself because I was first generation college student, I didn't know what tools were available to help me. So first thing, transitioning into college, it's going to be a very new experience for you. Oftentimes, a lot of you are going to be moving away from home. So it'll have that, I have more freedom to do what I want than who's going to be looking over my shoulder, right? With that freedom comes time management skills. And this is where you really have to put a goal for yourself, that you're not going to overextend yourself in different clubs and organizations. Yes, it could be fun, but always remember in the back of your mind, you're there to get an education, because that education is going to lead you to a career. Second of all, and this is what I really had difficulty with, academic support services. I myself was, I thought, a good student. In high school, I did not need to study very much because things just came naturally. And I thought I could use those same set of skills for studying into my college career. And I was wrong. College, it works very, very differently. It was a lot more reading, a lot more note-taking. And all of this you have to do on your own. There's nobody there to guide you along. So when my grades started slipping, I didn't have anybody to turn to. Luckily, many years now later, there are areas where you can go to get that support, to get that tutoring. And I'd like to tell students that I work with, even if you don't think you need it, just go ahead and go, because there may be a situation in which you may find somebody else who can turn out to be your best friend. And by helping those other students better understand the material, it's a really great way for you to also learn the material. And this leads me to my next point, advising and counseling. We want to make sure that you always meet with your academic advisor to make sure that you're going to stay on track and not take classes that are not a part of your major. Other thing, multicultural support on campus, very important, because on my institution, yes, there's a 35% diversity population, but oftentimes when I'm talking to multicultural students, they ask me, well, what type of clubs are there on campus where I can feel like I belong? Multicultural support campuses can come into by ways of many different student organizations, clubs, and even if you don't have one on campus, please go ahead and feel free to start one. And more importantly, as you're transitioning into your first year, you always want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, this self-care, making sure that you're eating properly, hydrating yourself, getting enough sleep, because all of that can begin to really weigh down on you later on. Next slide, please. Now, as I was mentioning earlier, these are just some of the 10 things that I think you as a multicultural student need to keep an eye on, especially since you start to go into your first year of school. Don't overextend yourself socially. I know it may sound, common sense, but you'd be surprised as to how many students think I can handle 10 different activities outside of the classroom and be okay with it. I've run across students who don't take academics seriously because just like me, I thought I could get away with doing the least amount or most minimal amount of work. That wasn't the case. Homesickness, very important. Yes, you'll have your freedom. Yes, you'll love it. But I've run into so many students that their very first weekend, they miss home. They miss their mom. They miss their dad. They miss their brothers and sisters, and they want to leave campus or at least go back to their hometown every weekend. And that prevents you from getting involved on campus. Also, we want to make sure that this is something that I suffered through, and I want to make sure that nobody else has to work their way through this. Oftentimes, because I was struggling academically, I felt like I didn't belong in college and that I was in this on my own. Please make sure that you, sorry, that's my timer. My time is up. But anyway, as I was saying, we want to make sure that, yes, you belong here. You belong to get an education. You belong in college, because if they wouldn't have admitted you, how else would you have gotten there? So yes, you belong there. Thank you.
You can keep going, Julio.
Okay, thank you. The other couple of things is, as I was mentioning earlier, not enough sleep or too much sleep, not knowing where you can go for help. Very important that as you begin during your orientation period, that you know where the academic study skills are, the study skills office is, where the tutoring center is, because they may be called something else a little bit differently, where the internship office are, where are your advising offices, or for your counselors, or even for those orientation leaders. At Monmouth, we have our first year orientation leaders, we have peer mentors, and you could probably find them in the residence halls. So please make sure that you check on where those people are. The other thing, not having the necessary tools to go to, be successful on campus. Oftentimes, books can be very, very expensive. And so many families struggle because you got enough to pay for your tuition, but where are you going to find the additional help for books? So oftentimes, many different multicultural student offices, even departments can loan books. So make sure that you always ask where you can find a book if you don't have access to one. As well, worrying about money. Oftentimes a lot of students worry about, how are they going to pay for school? And I can tell you this, don't stress out about it. If you have to take out a loan, take it out, because you shouldn't let money be an obstacle for your success, because later on, when you have your career, you'll be able to pay back that student loan. And more importantly, you want to make sure that you know what your clearly defined goals are. My dad used to tell me, if you just start driving and you don't know where you're headed, you'll never know where you're going to go or where you're going to end up. So if you have a map to be successful, you know where you're going to be able to go, you know what your goals are, you have the tools, you have the resources to be successful, and that's what you need to follow. Thank you.
All right, so I know Dulce and Julio talk about things that you as a student need to do to become successful as a student, but we're gonna wrap it up kind of in the sense of like what are institutions doing, allowing you to become a more successful student. I'm gonna talk about the Maryville experience. I'm pretty sure all of our schools have something very similar that allowed our students, especially in diverse students, to become successful through their college career per se. If we can go to the next slide, it gives you the diversity and inclusion mission of Maryville University. Maryville University is a small liberal arts school, roughly about 2,800 students, just 20 miles west of the Mississippi or downtown St. Louis, however you want to call it. By honoring diversity, it allows for social justice issues to be brought up from. We allowed our students to celebrate their traditions and allow other students to learn more from each other. I know Dulce talked about having a Chinese roommate and how she learned so much about the Chinese history that she actually got involved and started taking a Chinese course. So our mission is to develop leaders, essentially. We are firmly believers that you learn as much outside of the classroom as you do actually inside of the classroom. So that allows you to not only grow academically, but also grow as a person and actually become a future leader. We can go to the next slide. So what diversity looks? So Maryville strives to be as diverse as the US population. So that means having a diverse faculty, having a diverse group of staff, as well as having a diverse student population. So why do we want to do that? We want to make sure that our students feel comfortable wherever they go, and they feel comfortable in the classroom as well as outside of the classroom, seeking out resources or just asking questions in the classroom. We want to make sure that our students feel comfortable basically anywhere they walk on campus. So while we manage to do that, cultural engagement. So we create cultural events throughout campus that allow our students to learn about different culture and whatnot. For example, we'll have an international food tour that we do every year. We bring food trucks, as well as some of our students prep some of the food from their native land, which is actually pretty cool. And it's also free food. I know Julio talked about the experience of being on campus and getting involved, but if you get involved, a lot of these events actually come with free food, free giveaways, and as well as free t-shirts. So keep that in mind. So that leads into cultural education. So cultural education, we have group panels that talk about cultural issues, as well as book clubs and diverse dialogue that open up the dialogue for our students to engage and talk to each other and learn more about each other if you are from different culture, which is great. Campus environment. So Multicultural Scholars Program is one of the things that we'll touch on the campus cultural development as well. But campus environment is a climate assessment. We do a lot of surveys for our students to make sure that they feel comfortable. A lot of events come after follow-up surveys, like you guys will get a follow-up survey at the end of this presentation. And it also opens up the dialogue. And then community partnerships. We want our students to go out and explore, get involved in the community, meet other people just outside of their classroom that allows them to create that experience and potentially lead up to internships, co-ops, as well as job opportunities leading up in the future. And not only that, but you also learn about the community. So if you're from out of state or from out of town and you don't know much about the town where you're actually studying, just go out and get involved in the community. That is also super great and super helpful whenever you are applying for jobs if you're wanting to stay in the area. If we go to the next slide. These are some of the groups, clubs, and organizations that actually are involved in the majority of our 3 campuses. I know those that talk about Harry Potter being a club in her campus, and as well as Anime Club. So these are some of the groups and organizations that actually create events throughout the year. And like I mentioned, majority of those events are free. Well, they're technically not free as you're paying your tuition and fees. So that's why we always tell you, make sure you get involved and participate. For example, Hawaiian Asian Pacific Islander Association, they create Asian Fusion Week where they do 5 different stations throughout the day of food from all the Asian different countries. And it's also free. So students can just go and try new food for free, actually, instead of spending your meal plan. Some clubs and organizations will talk about a little bit more in details about how they can actually do better things across campus. So including diversity and whatnot. We also have religious organizations as well as part of diversity and inclusion at Maryville. If we move forward, we do have a multicultural scholars program on campus, which also allows you to gain experience and learning from other cultural as well as access to scholarships. I know Dulce mentioned that some of these club programs and events on campus are actually attached to scholarships. So we do have a scholars program that allowed our students to gain access to funding throughout their college career. And it's a 4-year step program where if we go to the next one, I think you see the breakdown of the actual scholarships or the actual purpose of the program. So it develops the students holistically. So it allows our students to gain better academic experience as well as socially and professionally experiences and enhance their leadership skills. Some of us comes from a smaller high school and we might be going to a bigger college or vice versa. So it allows us to create a better holistic student when it comes to leading as well as we're putting stuff together. So that could be being part of a organization or sitting in as a board member of the organization as well. So participating in mentoring opportunities. So once you become a junior, you actually have the opportunity to help and assist the incoming freshmen transition into our campus. And you also, it's kind of a buddy system. So you actually have like someone who actually been through the steps that you are actually going to take to help you guide you through the process. It also promotes inclusive on campus. So it allows our students to feel more inclusive as they have a organization that they're a greater organization that they're a part of, and allows them to create and develop some friendships that stick throughout the 4 years as well as once they graduate. And then support mission from the university, diversity and inclusion, is actually to wrap up all the stuff that we talked about that hinders you from completing your college degree in just one-stop shop. If you have any issues in the classroom, you can always go to the Office of Diversity and Inclusion if you're part of the program. If you're having issues in the class, so if you need better test taking, better note taking, any skills that you might need in the classroom, you can go and they'll be able to assist you as well. And if we go to the next one, talks about a little bit of our scholarship opportunities program. So the Multicultural Scholars Program, we award close to 36 per year, and that's all the way up to 75% off tuition. When you guys are in the college search process, just make sure you're always hitting those scholarship pages within the specific institution. Majority of them should have multicultural scholars opportunities for you guys. We'll also have the Donald Salk Scholarship, which is for African Americans in the St. Louis metro area, and then the Martin Lombardi, which is all the way up to 50% off tuition for African American students. All these 3 scholarships, don't think because you meet the general criteria, you're actually going to receive them. We do have a competition program that allows our students to compete for scholarships like this. It's fairly simple. We talk about a competition. You guys will hear the big word of an interview to gain a scholarship. It's really not an interview. Let's be realistic. It's more of a conversation. So you'll meet with a faculty or a staff and a student who has been previously awarded a scholarship, and you just have a conversation. You know, it's nothing to be scared about or nothing to, you know, be losing hair over. If we move forward, we should be able to take a look of how the actual scholars experience looks like. So during the first year, students will gain self-awareness and identity. So it allows you to illustrate how their talents, strengths, their social groups, memberships, and how they interact with each other. So it basically exposes you to everything that the university has to offer, as well as some of our community engagement. During the second year, they'll debunk it in a cultural myth. So students will dive into a separate cultural and actually learn about traditions and various group and identities as well. During year 3, they'll start developing some of the skills to have difficult conversations. As we know, the climate is probably not the best right now, but we do need to have these conversations. And by taking, guidance and from people who have had these conversations and how to actually target and have these conversations throughout the year 3 of your program is huge. As doing year 4th, you'll actually start interviewing for positions, hopefully, because you're getting ready to graduate. So during 4th year, you just develop into a peer educator. So you assist with incoming freshmen, as well as sophomores, as well as campus and community around. You'll be dive into the community and start assisting students, whether it be within the specific institution you're at or actually outside in the community. If we go to the next slide. So what are some of the requirements that Maryville per se, some schools might have different requirements. So maintaining a 2.5 or higher to maintain any of our scholarships. So basically maintaining academic standard, meeting with your program coordinator. We mentioned that some of the students might not feel comfortable at first. Trust me, first conversation is always the most difficult and most awkward conversation. But once you get past that hump, they're there to help you. They get paid to assist you. They get paid to make sure you graduate. So you just make sure you go and have those conversations. Represent yourself in a positive manner. So it allows you to grow not only as an individual, but also your image and how you present and how you talk to people. You have mandatory monthly meetings, whether it be with your peers or whether it be with your actual Multicultural Scholars Program coordinator. Complete a written journal. So just basically, you just need one per month where you just talk about a cultural event or an event that within the specific institution that you actually participated in. And then complete an e-portfolio. Basically, it's just writing a summary of what you have done throughout the year, throughout the program in order to move on to the next year and actually keep receiving your scholarship. And then participate in the Multicultural Scholars Mentor Program. Like I mentioned, there's always someone like you on campus, and they'll pair you up with the best match for you to just talk and someone who's going to guide you throughout your process. And then if we go to the next one. So attend to Office of Diversity, Meeting and Inclusion. You're actually participating on campus events, so you might as well just show up to 2 extra ones. So just make sure that those are the 2 ones you show up to. Participate in Scholars Competition Weekend. So that's how students are actually awarded a scholarship. It's usually in the spring semester, and then attend the Office of Diversity and Inclusion Welcome. So some of this stuff is mandatory, and they'll give you a structure as well as attending the reception. Some of these things are good because they actually keep you involved, and 70% of the students who are involved on campus have a 70% better experience with those students who are not involved on campus, as well as they get better grades. Trust me, if you show up to class and you show up to events and you get involved, you'll meet amazing people. And if you're struggling, like Julio said, there's always someone willing to help you. And if you make those relationships with those people, anyone is willing to assist you. And if we move forward, I think we are close to being done with the Scholars Program. It gives our contact information. If you guys want to take a snapshot of this and contact us, yeah, we work for our specific institution, but we're also here to help you. There's nothing more satisfying than assisting someone, in the process of actually changing their lives. Because trust me, college is life changing, and it's actually a great experience. I know my colleagues probably want to talk, but if you guys have any questions, just feel free to put them in the chat. We'll be here for a couple more minutes, actually a few more minutes, just answering questions for you all.
Definitely, like Antonio was saying, many different colleges have all of these different resources, but many of us are afraid to ask because we are afraid to look silly or what other people are going to think about us. And that's the one biggest thing, that's the one biggest obstacle that I had to overcome is, you're there, you want to be successful, and so what if you don't know your way around? This is a brand new experience for you, and you just have to get over that hump of, well, I'm supposed to know this. No, you don't. Just like when you started grammar school, or just like when you started high school, you didn't know your way around the building, but by now you can probably go through your building blindfolded and know where you are. Similarly, that's the type of experience that you're going to have once you're in college. Am I right, guys?
Definitely. I agree with Julio in that you really want to self-advocate for yourself. I think that's the biggest thing that you learn coming into college. To talk about the skills and the transitions you're making, I would say time management will be the first one, followed by self-advocacy. And even if it's just finding who to ask, you can always start with us, since we are helping you in getting into our institutions. We are your point of contact. We're the gateway into that. If you still need help in self-advocating, always rely on us, because we are truly in the service of you as a student. And so if you don't know who to ask, always use us as that last resort. I would say that in my experience in being the multicultural recruitment counselor, I still have even sophomores reaching out to me and like, I don't know which office to ask for. And that's definitely perfectly fine, not knowing who to ask. But always find someone that you place that trust in. Just like in high school, I know from personal experience, I had those teachers that were there for you and that you felt like you could really reach out to them and ask them for questions. You will find that in college too. You will find those people, whether it's staff or faculty, that are willing to become a mentor for you. And if anything, the quick takeaways that we took from this presentation that Antonio and Julio touched on was that you want to self-advocate for yourself and begin with asking how you can be involved. And I don't know if any of you guys want to share any other personal experiences you had. I know at least for me, a huge part of it, I mentioned finding those mentors on campus for me was a faculty in the language department. I mentioned that I was interested in Chinese. And so she really became kind of like my gateway of exploring that side of it, being involved. And it really helped me build as a professional, because she gave me connections to other faculty, to other organizations that I never would have thought I would have joined if I had not even thought to ask this professor. So definitely rely on us. We are here to help you. We're investing in your success. As Antonio mentioned now, we're getting paid to help you. So let us help you be successful.
There are actually two questions. The first one I'd like to answer right away, because that will lead into a really great segue for the next question. The question is, do our colleges offer study abroad options? And yes, I believe all of our colleges do. I can tell you that for Monmouth College, we have a very special offering in that if students do not have a passport, Monmouth College will not only help you complete the passport application, but also will reimburse you that cost of your passport, so you can actually go anywhere in the world to visit. And then the next question I love, because believe it or not, I was extremely introverted, and the question is this: what would you recommend for people to do if they're introverts but want to get involved in activities? I will tell you, I was really shy, but the one thing that took my mind away from that shyness is, and this is my nerdy side coming out, was a collectible card game called Magic the Gathering. I used to have a set of friends that I would play with in high school, and now I saw this on a college campus, and I'm like, oh, cool, I need to bring my decks. And once you start a game, you always want to have other people to play with. So that was my way of kind of getting over that shyness. So if there is no club, in my example, Magic the Gathering club on your campus, go ahead and get it started. And you'd be surprised at the number of people who are actually going to join you, and you can develop more friends. You can become your own peer group and help each other out, because if you have questions, I'm sure other students have questions just like you.
Yeah, piggyback, Julio, you're not required to, if you want to join a club or organization, you're not required to be a board member right away. You can just show up and just listen and see what they have to offer. You don't have to join immediately. You can just show up, sit in the background, and if you like the vibe and you like the people who are actually in the club, you might consider yourself, moving forward with the club and participating more often, and eventually getting involved if you really want to, and be a general board member, be a secretary, be the president of the club, be the founder of the club, however you want to look at it. But initially you can just show up. You know, you don't have to interact with anyone. You can just sit in the back and listen. And if you feel like this is the right for you and you feel comfortable, you might open up and, you know, start talking to people. If you have a roommate, it's always just tag team. If you feel like you're very introvert, I'm very outgoing. You know, I had a very introvert roommate, but he was always with me. So we were everywhere on campus. So that way you get involved. So you'll find your balance. You know, there's something for everyone on campus.
Definitely, I know it can be scary reaching out, and like Antonio, I would say I was very much on the extrovert side, but you really want to set up for yourself for success. Antonio made a good point about your roommate. So I don't know, even starting with choosing a campus that offers dorms based on your area of study, that could be your first kind of segue into your interests that you have. I know here at Southeast, we specialize in special housing interests. We have a dorm that's divided by every floor by our areas of study that we offer. We have like teachers of tomorrow, we have medical professionals, business. We've even added a community for pet friendly. There's a dorm that you can move in with your cat or dog. So even if you want to set up yourself for that success, surround yourself with people that are going to bring about your own voice, so to speak, of what your interests are. And Antonio made a good point. That roommate that you're going to have, hopefully they're going to tag team, like he mentioned, of doing things, being involved. I mentioned my own experience with my Chinese roommate as a freshman. She really opened my eyes to the Asian culture, and I became really engaged. So I know it can be scary as an introvert reaching out, but if you set up yourself for success of who you surround yourself with, it can really make you move all that further in advocating for yourself.
The other point I wanted to touch upon is definitely when it comes to money matters, private scholarships are out there. I've done workshops and presentations on what are some of the most goofiest scholarships. And when I tell students that, yes, there was a pumpkin Halloween carving contest and you could win $500. You know, some of the students were telling me, you know, Mr. Trujillo, $500 isn't anything when my tuition or when my books are X amount. And I said, you know what, every little bit helps. You know, if you win or apply for those smaller $200, $300 scholarships, but you apply for 10 of them, guess what? Now you have a nice chunk of change, right? So don't let those small scholarship, the small value scholarship scare you. You should definitely apply for those, because also keep in mind, a lot of people are going to be like you and think, well, why is it worth it? So you might have a better chance of getting those smaller value scholarships.
We're still taking questions, any comments, things that you're thinking about in college that you want to be involved in, let us know. Put those out there in the chat. I know Julio's keeping a good watch on that, but we're here for you. Like I said, we're your resource. If anything, we're like the gateway keeper to everything of our institution. So definitely take advantage of that.
I believe if there's no further question, we're going to wrap it up. I know Stripe Scheme has some information for you guys to share right here at the end of our presentation as well. Oh.
You guys actually just got one more question.
Yes. So what scholarship do you recommend for first-generation Hispanic students? I'll let the expert talk about that. Go ahead, Julio.
Well, thank you, Antonio, but I don't know if I'm an expert. Maybe it's just because I've been doing this a couple more years, but for first-generation Hispanic students, there are so many different scholarships. One of the things that I would definitely recommend would be the MALDEF scholarship. That's the Mexican American Legal Defense Fund. You also have a great resource in the Hispanic Scholarship Fund, the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, ACU. Their website is hacu.org. Many different students that I've worked with over the years tend to think that you can only get a scholarship your freshman year of college. And please, if you listen to anything I'm saying, you can continue to look for scholarships your sophomore, your junior, your senior year, and well into your graduate work. So just because you didn't get it this one year doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply next year, and keep on looking. Because just like you love to spend time on TikTok videos, you should also, spend a little bit of time looking for these different scholarships. And another great resource would be the scholarship search engines. I definitely want to give a shout out to College Greenlight. Many different wonderful opportunities there. I don't know if you, Antonio or Dulce, have any others that you would also recommend.
Yeah, I think checking your local organization, Hispanic organizations, sometimes they do have competitive scholarships that you can apply. And like Julio said, those $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 scholarship, they'll stack up. I know St. Louis has the St. Louis Hispanic Chamber, for example, and they do have scholarship that students are able to compete. And majority of those scholarships are 500-word essay. So the time it takes you to memorize a TikTok dance is probably the time you will spend writing a 500-word essay. So just take a look at that, like Hispanic Chambers of Commerce, individual, for example, in St. Louis, I know the Puerto Rican Society, Hispanic societies, Venezuelan society, they all have scholarships as well.
And I was gonna add on, it's definitely great looking into your community and like even the region that you're reaching, or even nationally, there's a lot of nonprofits. I know United Way is another big nonprofit organization advocating for Hispanic Latinos that have their own scholarships. But even that, definitely don't forget that even within your top choice schools, they may have those multicultural programs that Antonio was mentioning about. So definitely look into those institutions. I will say with my experience with Southeast, one of the biggest things is that we have a Hispanic president at our institution, and he really encouraged the endowment of private scholarships for minority students. And so definitely you never know which institution with those private scholarships that they may have. If you already know where you want to go, definitely do a little bit of research, ask around. They might have a program just specifically set aside for Hispanic Latinos. I know we mentioned a lot of involvement. I mentioned a lot of organizations. One of the things that I was involved with the Student Organization of Latinos, and one of their biggest missions was to fundraise money for the whole academic year to do cultural events. And then the last money left over, they endow that into a scholarship. So it doesn't hurt to ask. Like I said, ask around. Julio and Antonio made great points of like where you can find even locally or even within your own community. But also don't forget those institutions you're interested in, because you might be surprised. They might actually have that money set aside just for you.
Yeah, I think you guys can wrap it up about now.
All right, thanks guys. Okay, so for those of you students who are still on with us, and parents and families, just want to quick say thank you for joining us. After you close this window, you will get a very short 4-question survey. Please fill that out for us. And then again, if you are interested in any additional sessions, IACAC.org is the website to check out. And there are, again, sessions like this, as well as institution sessions that are going on for the next 6 weeks. But thank you so much, and have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you.